I overheard my parents deciding to give everything to my brother. Then mom sent me a text, "Don't contact us, we're done." I stared at my phone, put down my coffee, and replied with 2 words. Understood. The apartment was silent, but my mind screamed. If you've ever been erased by the people who raised you, you know that quiet can be deafening. By sunrise, my phone would blow up with desperate messages, but that night, I chose my own peace. Stay with me when anyone asks about my family. I smile and say ordinary because that's how we looked from outside. Dad ran for bistros across Lion. The Moreau name painted in elegant gold letters on every storefront. Mom managed the finances. Laurent handled the charisma. And me, well, I was the invisible one. Our holiday photos were flawless, matching outfits. Rehearsed smiles, mom's diamond earrings catching the candlelight. What nobody saw was what happened after the camera stopped, the coldness, the rankings. The constant reminders that I wasn't the favorite. Dad used to say Laurent has business instincts. You have your sketches. He said sketches like it was a disease. When I turned 14, Laurent got a brand new racing bike. Mine came from a second-hand shop, repainted red to match his. At 18, he wrecked his car while texting. Dad replaced it within days. When I got a parking fine, I lost driving privileges for 2 months. You'd think I'd learn to stop caring, but I couldn't. I kept hoping. When I got accepted into design school in Paris, I ran home holding the letter like it was oxygen. Dad barely glanced at it. If you abandon the bistros, he said, you abandon us. Mom just stood there, lips pressed tight. Nodding behind him, Laurent grinned like he'd already won. Maybe he had. So I left. Waited tables at night, tutored design students during the day, survived on pasta and espresso. I mailed letters home every term. Nobody ever responded, but I survived, graduated top of my class. Returned to Lion, started taking clients, apartments, offices, restaurants, ironically, places like Dad's. By 33, I had clients who valued my vision more than my parents ever did. And still, when Mom fell ill, I showed up. The treatments were brutal. Chemotherapy, radiation, specialists in Paris. Insurance covered almost nothing. I didn't hesitate. I just paid. Medical bills, trains, hotels. When she went into remission, she sent me a message. Thank you for everything, darling. That was it. No phone call, no embrace, just those words. A few years later, Laurent rang with his brilliant idea of food cart. 6 months in, it collapsed harder than his first car. I wired him 30,000 euros to avoid bankruptcy, then another 20 to fix Dad's equipment. When things broke, he bragged about restructuring the business. Never once acknowledged my money. It's strange how love makes you keep giving long after your heart's empty. I kept telling myself I was supporting the family, that eventually they'd see me. But family isn't built on payments. It's built on respect, and in our home, that word didn't apply to me. So when Dad rang for another family dinner to discuss business, I agreed. I thought perhaps finally they'd want my opinion, not my wallet, instead. That dinner became the night I understood the truth, and later, standing on those stairs, hearing my father say everything goes to Laurent, I realized something I'd ignored my entire life. I was never part of the legacy. I was just the bank account. I wasn't meant to be home that evening. The plan was to grab takeout, collapse early, and forget the uncomfortable family dinner from days before. The one where Dad had asked for 60,000 euros like he was ordering wine. But when I remembered I'd left my old design portfolio in their attic, sketches from university I needed for a presentation, I drove over. It was nearly 7. The house glowed warm behind the drapes, the kind of light that once meant safety. When I stepped inside, Mom's beefs to hit me first. For a moment, it almost felt normal again. I set my keys down quietly, ready to announce myself. But then I heard my name. Dad's voice, low, firm. Laurent's the only one who actually cares about this family. He's the future. She just lives her own life. Laurent's laugh followed, easy and smug. So it's settled then, everything goes to me. Dad's response cut through me like broken glass. Everything, the house, the bistros, the accounts. She's had enough from us already. Mom hesitated, her fork clinked against her plate. She did cover my treatment, Stephen. Dad's tone hardened. That was her choice. You don't reward someone for doing what they should have done out of love. And then Laurent chuckled again. Guess it's official then, I'm the heir. I froze at the bottom of the staircase, heart pounding so hard it drowned out their voices. They were rewriting history. Years of sacrifice turned into background static. I wanted to walk in, to shout that I wasn't asking for inheritance, just basic decency. But I couldn't move. The part that destroyed me wasn't Dad's words. It was Mom's silence. She didn't defend me, didn't even whisper disagreement, just kept eating. I backed away slowly, terrified the creaking floor would expose me. My fingers brushed the railing, cold and smooth like it was watching too. By the time I reached the door, my chest felt empty. Driving home, My mind kept replaying it like a broken film. Dad's voice saying everything to Laurent, Laurent laughing, Mom staying silent. When my phone buzzed that night, I thought it might be guilt. Maybe Mom reaching out, realizing I'd heard. Instead, her message lit the screen like a flame. Don't contact us, we're done. No punctuation, no explanation, just finality for a full minute. I stared at those words. Then I set my coffee down, typed 2 words, understood. I didn't cry, didn't throw the phone, didn't beg for answers. The clock ticked, the coffee went cold, and the quiet of my apartment pressed in until it felt alive. If you've ever had someone you love erase you with a single sentence, you know that pain doesn't explode, it spreads. It rewrites every memory slowly. That night, I sat in darkness scrolling through every payment I'd made for them. Hospital bills, credit cards, bistro utilities. Every euro was proof of how desperately I'd tried to belong. And as I looked at the list, I realized belonging was never an option. I didn't sleep that night. The city was quiet outside my window, thin fog crawling over the streetlights. I sat at my kitchen table, phone face down, staring at nothing. The message kept echoing in my head. Don't contact us. We're done. You'd think that kind of message would break a person, but I didn't shatter, I went still. The kind of stillness that happens right before a storm shifts direction. When the first light of morning crept across my counter, I opened my laptop, emails, invoices, automatic payments. Line after line of reminders that I'd been financing the same people who'd just erased me. Mom's medications, Laurent's business debts, to bistro utility bills, insurance premiums. All set to renew automatically. Every line tied me to them like invisible rope. I scrolled once more, then clicked cancel on the first one, then the next and the next. Each click sounded louder than the last. A quiet rebellion, a sound only I could hear. I opened another tab, checked my balance. Months of work, late nights, exhausting deadlines, all drained for their emergencies. I whispered to the empty room, not anymore. By mid-morning, I'd severed every connection. No payments, no safety net, no access. Then I opened the folder that still sat on my table, the business proposal I'd brought to that family dinner, the one they'd dismissed, mocked, ignored. I flipped through each page, cost analysis, renovation plans, new branding concepts, my work. My time, my expertise, they'd called it worthless, so I decided to make it valuable. That afternoon, I rang a contact from the hospitality conference I'd attended months ago, a project director at Provence Restaurant Collective. Hello, I said, keeping my tone light. Remember that sustainability concept I mentioned? I've got a complete proposal ready. Can we see it? He asked. Tomorrow, I said. I hung up and leaned back in my chair. For the first time in months, the air in my apartment felt clean. That evening, Laurent's name flashed on my screen. Then Dad's, then Mom's. I didn't answer. Not because I didn't care anymore, but because I finally did, for myself, by midnight. I'd cleared the last trace of them from my finances. The only thing left was silence. And in that silence, something new began, a kind of calm I didn't recognize. The calm of someone who's finally stopped begging to be loved by the wrong people. They wanted it to be done between us, fine. I was going to show them what done really looked like. The next morning, my phone exploded with missed calls and messages, 42 calls before 9. Mom, Dad, Laurent, unknown numbers, voicemails stacked one after another, their voices overlapping like static. Dad's voice cracked halfway through my name before he hung up. Laurent's message was shorter, you selfish witch, fix this. Mom's came last, her tone was soft. Rehearsed, darling, please ring us, this isn't like you. I silenced the phone and returned to work. 3 design proposals due that week, to client meetings and one very important email from Provence Restaurant Collective waiting in my inbox. When I opened it, my heart slowed. Subject line, loved your concept. Can we meet tomorrow to discuss partnership? I smiled. They thought cutting me off would destroy me, but all it did was create space for something better. By noon, the calls turned frantic. Dad sent an email with the subject line urgent, restore payments. Immediately, Laurent messaged, you're destroying the bistros. Then another, you owe us, Margot. I put the phone face down, poured coffee and whispered, I don't owe you anything. That evening, I left the office later than usual. The parking garage was half lit. A low hum of fluorescent light echoing off the concrete. As I reached my car, someone stepped out from the shadows. Laurent. Hello, he said, voice sharp, eyes glassy. You've been ignoring us. Working, I replied. He stepped closer. Turn the payments back on. No. His face reddened. You think you can just walk away? You think you're better than us? I met his eyes. No, Laurent. I think I finally stopped pretending we're family. He clenched his jaw, hand twitching like he wanted to grab me. Before he could, footsteps echoed. Henry, one of my colleagues, appeared with 2 others. Everything all right, Margot? Laurent glanced at them, then back at me. This isn't finished. Yes, I said quietly. It is. He stormed off, muttering something about lawyers and betrayal. But the tremor in his voice told me he already knew he'd lost control. 3 days later, Isabel showed up at my office. Her eyes were swollen, makeup smudged like she hadn't slept in days. "I'm sorry to come here," she said, clutching a folder against her chest. "He doesn't know I'm here." I gestured for her to sit. "Laurent," she nodded, "you need to see this." When she slid the folder across the desk, papers spilled out. Receipts, bank statements, transaction summaries, bistro funds wired to personal accounts. A luxury watch purchase, Monaco trips, first-class flights to Barcelona. Tens of thousands of euros siphoned out of the bistro accounts over 3 years. I looked up. "You found this?" She nodded again. "I've been helping with bookkeeping since we got engaged. At first, I thought the missing amounts were errors, but it's him. He's been stealing from your parents' business for years." She started crying. "I'm leaving him. I can't marry someone who steals from his own family." I leaned forward. "Isabel, you just gave me exactly what I needed." The next afternoon, my phone buzzed again. "Dad. Family meeting tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Pont Cafe downtown." No greeting, no question, just a command. Perfect. Pont Cafe smelled like burnt espresso and rain-soaked jackets. They were already there when I arrived, Mom staring out the window, Dad sitting rigid, Laurent scrolling his phone. When I approached the table, all three looked up in perfect unison like predators spotting prey. Dad spoke first. "Your childish tantrum is destroying the family business." I laughed softly. "Childish? You mean cutting off the money you took without asking?" Mom reached for my hand. "Darling, we can fix this. Just turn the payments back on." I pulled my hand away. "No." Laurent leaned back, smirking. "She's bitter. Always has been." I opened my bag, pulled out a small stack of papers. "Funny. You might want to read these before calling me bitter." I laid Isabel's folder on the table and slid it toward him. Receipts, bank transfers. Every line documented. Laurent's smirk faltered. "What is this?" "Evidence," I said, "of how you've been stealing from the bistros for 3 years." Dad snatched the papers. His face went pale then red. "Where did you get this?" "From someone tired of cleaning up after him." Mom covered her mouth, whispering, "Laurent." He shoved his chair back. "These are fake. She made them up." I leaned forward, voice calm. "I didn't make them up. Your fiancé gave them to me." His eyes widened. "Isabel. She left you," I cut in. "Smart woman." For the first time, Dad looked lost. "Even if this is true," he said, voice trembling, "it's still family business, right?" I said. "And family helps family, remember?" Laurent sneered. "You think you're better because you make fancy houses. For rich people, no," I said, standing, "because I build something real, something that lasts." I reached into my bag again and placed another folder on the table. The business proposal they'd called worthless. "I sold this to Provence Restaurant Collective yesterday," I said. "Have €1 million. Mom's fork slipped from her fingers. Laurent stared at me like he couldn't process words. Dad's face drained completely of color. "They loved it," I continued. "Said it's exactly the sustainable design they wanted for all 40 of their restaurants." Looks like my useless degree finally paid off. Laurent slammed his hand on the table. "You stole our idea." "No," I said, calm as ever. "You rejected it." Big difference. Silence stretched. The clinking of dishes from the counter filled the air. I took a slow sip of my coffee. "Let's see how your chosen son saves you now." Dad's voice came low, almost a growl. "You'll regret this." "Maybe," I said, gathering my things. "But at least I'll regret it on my own terms." As I walked toward the door, Mom's voice followed, weak and trembling. "Margot, please." I turned just enough to meet her eyes. "You told me not to contact you, not to come. Remember?" Her lips parted, but no sound came. Outside, rain had started to fall. Light, steady, cleansing. I stood under it for a moment, breathing in the air, letting the noise of the cafe fade behind me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't shaking. I wasn't scared. I was free. That night, I came home to quiet. No calls, no emails, no messages. I turned off the lights, poured a glass of wine, and opened my laptop. Have €1 million sat in my account waiting, not revenge money, not guilt money. Just proof that I didn't need their permission to matter for years. I'd been the one rescuing them, now they'd have to learn how to survive without me. I closed my laptop, took a sip, and smiled to myself. Peace had a flavor. It tasted like freedom and Merlot. 6 months passed before I heard anything. It was Aunt Colette who finally rang. Her voice carried that mix of pity and gossip only relatives can master. "They lost everything. Darling," she said, "all for bistros gone, bankruptcy filings, lawsuits, the works. Laurent's facing charges, embezzlement, your father's working at a hardware shop. Your mother part-time at Galleries Lafayette." I didn't say a word, just looked out my office window at the city skyline, my team laughing in the next room. Colette Hesitated, they asked about you, I think they finally understand. I almost laughed, maybe. But that understanding's too late. That night, I scrolled through my old messages. Mom's text still sat there, glowing on the screen. Don't contact us, we're done. For the first time, I didn't feel pain reading it, just distance. I typed one last message, never send it, just whispered it into the quiet, understood. The next morning, I opened my studio early. The light poured in, clean and bright. The past felt smaller in that glow, like something I'd already outgrown. Sometimes the best revenge isn't loud, it's peace, no yelling, no begging, no proving anymore. Just the quiet satisfaction of walking away and watching the truth do its work. If you've ever had to choose distance over damage, you know exactly what that feels like. Share your story in the comments and don't forget to subscribe for the next one.